Well, good evening, everybody. Alan Slaughterzinski for the Brevard Sports Network. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening. Hope you had a fantastic. In terms of breaks, parents, I know it's never a break, but for you student athletes out there, here's hoping that your holiday break went well. You're back this week in school, so get to work is what I'll say. And speaking of work, many of you out there are extremely familiar with and are if you don't already intend, I know you're intrigued by Ubrzati. First of all, what is Ubrzati? Well, it's a set of scientifically developed protocols that have evolved over the last 20 plus years that rapidly develop athletes beyond their normal capabilities. That's what Ubrzati is. And the proof is so much in the pudding, so to speak. And student athlete after student athlete and sport after sport after sport after sport has proven this. Many of our student athletes of the year train at Ubrzati. And we got into a little bit of a rhythm where we would bring in Maxx Amato from Ubrzati, and I'm happy to say we have begun the new year jumping back into that rhythm a little bit. How much longer we'll be able to do it? Well, not much longer, at least with Max anyway. So please help me welcome here Maxx Amato. Max, first of all, Happy New Year's. First time I've seen you since then. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all that great stuff.
Back to you.
How are you and Marcella doing, my friend?
We're doing great, man. I mean, it's another great year. 2023 was awesome, and 2024 is going to have a lot more big changes for everybody, which is going to be great.
All right. We'll talk about one of those tremendous changes coming up. Been a lot of changes at Ubrzati this past year. 2023 was a big year for Ubrzati. The new Z-Tread, the move, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of recap the year a little bit for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest things outside of just the facility change and the Z-Treads that we started, which I'll go to in a second, though, is we brought on a couple new trainers, a couple former athletes of ours that have become full-time with us, which has been awesome to be able to help out some of these younger guys, get them into a career that they want to have. And we owe that to the county and to the kids and the coaches for giving us the business and giving us the opportunity to bring in more staff. So, we haven't had any new staff in the first couple of years we existed. We didn't need to, and we wanted to keep everything close to the vest and keep the family close, but these people were great. So shout out to Tyler and Aaron and Justin. So 3 new trainers that have come in with us. In terms of the new facility, again, that's another testament to the commitment and drive of the kids, parents, and coaches in the county that we were blessed to be able to upgrade to a significantly bigger facility. And it's been great. It's been awesome. And just so everyone knows, we're already kind of planning what's next due to the growth trajectory that Ubrzati has.
Yeah,
so,
it's really incredible.
Yeah,
So,
and then go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and then obviously any kids who've come in have seen the new Z-Treads. I'm going to hold off on telling more about that still, but anyone who comes into Ubrzati knows what Z-Treads are.
So, yes. I hear you. Well, let me ask you this. How much of a difference, just if you can, the big difference between a Z-Tread and a normal tread?
The length, the speed of the belt that it can go, the incline can go higher than any treadmill that we've ever been able to find. But the biggest part is we're able to have an interface with our software to have our training methods are embedded into it. So in terms of what the tread offers plus what our protocols offer, it's been an absolute game changer for what we're doing and how we're able to streamline our training for the kids.
The thing that I have found interesting about Ubrzati, and I mentioned, and there is a word in there that you can't take lightly, and that word to me is protocols. And what I mean by that is every sport has a different set of scientifically developed protocols that are required for you to be that sport ready, so to speak. Like on the screen right now, everybody's looking at volleyball, Cape Coast Conference volleyball, or not Cape Coast Conference, Cape Coast volleyball, the phenomenal facility owned and operated by Connie Denenberg. what these girls have come in and done has helped their game tremendously, and you're going to hear from a few of them coming up at the end of this interview. But kind of take us through the sports aspect of it and the different protocols maybe for this sport, or not to be specific about the protocols, but how each sport is different and how Ubrzati adapts to that sport.
Sure. So the base of what we do, obviously, is with our speed training protocols. That was what Ubrzati was founded on. That's what we do. That's our bread and butter. But what we've been able to do, and an example with Cape Coast, is due to the numbers and the amount of athletes that they have, it's been to a point where we don't have enough treadmills to keep our 5 to 6 on a tread at a time for everyone to do it. Like, we'd need quadruple the treadmills we have that to make that happen.
Right.
So what we've done and what we're very good at as a staff is developing protocols as we go based on the need. So what we've done is we've developed an entire, we call it a jump program. It's a lot of plyometrics, ground training, with recovery stuff that's all bundled in together that's going to benefit the volleyball athlete. So when they come in, we have 60-plus girls come in. I'll give an example on like a Saturday. We'll have a third of them on the treads, a third of them doing our regular ground training program, and a third of them doing the jump protocol, and they move in 25-minute intervals. So they hit each. So we're working on everything from running mechanics, stabilization, lateral quickness, to landing, change of direction, and then obviously hitting all the benefits that the tread gets with the central nervous system.
But it's different for every sport.
Right.
You had a success story last year with Vieira Lacrosse.
They're back right now.
Huh?
They're back in right now.
And they're back with BSN in 2024, and we're excited about that. And the schedule that they play this year is one of the most brutal in the entire state. The schedule that Vieira Lacrosse is playing this year is akin to what Coco played in football. It truly is. Talk about lacrosse. So,
of our new trainers, 2 of them are lacrosse players, former lacrosse players, both from Florida Tech. So obviously we have a lot of translation to the sport to the point where they want to come work for us because they saw it. But like with Coach Bob specifically, like when we met last year and we had this, like this was planned as a long-term investment, and he pitched it to the parents and saying like, hey, like if we're going to invest this way, we're going to increase our competition year over year too. So if we don't do this, you far farther behind. He said, because the truth is, and Coco's a testament of it, you're not going to go far in the playoffs if you haven't been tested. So
correct.
All you got to do is get to the dance. Right, but their problem before was they couldn't even finish the season healthy, so you couldn't risk playing, schools like John Carroll or Playville like that. So now that they've proven that the protocols work, that they made it through their season healthy, they've been able to actually properly build with their underclassmen. So now we've got year 2 with almost all these guys to increase their capacity, train their central nervous system the right way, and now Coach Bob's had more time to invest into the skill of the sport. So he's had to basically get an extra year of practice time versus what he had before because they were having to do conditioning and all these other different things. So he felt that a whole year of extra coaching gives them the ability to now schedule up because they're more prepared.
Winter Park, Lake Highland Prep, Cardinal Mooney, Alatoona, team out of the north, Ponte Vedra, Jensen Beach, Oak Hall, Vero Beach, Bishop Moore, St. Edwards, Lake Mary. That's not a schedule for the faint of heart. And to have a coach like Bob Nunn, who has been doing this a very long time, is sort of the poster guy for the success of this program, speaks volumes for it. Look, if Bob Nunn, who's been coaching lacrosse for a very long time, one of the best at it, says that this was what was best for his program, then there's no reason it shouldn't be best for the rest as well. And that's the way I look at it. I'm sorry. There is a clear-cut difference in, Coach Nunn is great, but when Coach Nunn is willing to adapt to the times and make the change for his team, you should be able to, too. And that's just how I look at it. I mean, look, I used to be a salesman. Don't sound like it anymore because now I'm just like pounding it home. But that's how much I believe in what you guys do. But you do it in a different way. This is where your conditioning for your program takes place, correct? You guys talk about that. So how does that work?
Well, okay, so it's twofold. I changed my practice, so I have 8-minute periods.
Okay.
So everything is super fast. So they get conditioning, but they don't get sprints.
Gotcha.
So everything, we're moving in and out of drills fast. We're playing fast. We're doing drills they're fatigued. But there's no conditioning outside of the individual drills, because when I came to Ubrzati, Max told me, he said, Bob, this will only work if you trust us. And they showed me the data, and I just believed in the system enough to say, okay, I'm all in. And I did not run the kids at all. And it made a big, gigantic difference. Most of the games, we were better in the second half.
No, there's no question about it. And Tyler, speak to that if you would, because I know obviously a part of Vieira. Talk about the difference you saw in this program, because there were games last year that were given up in the second half, and there were games, and listen, I think Coach Bartlett would agree. And his frustration level last year was they would get out on top of these teams and they couldn't hold leads late. So talk a little bit about what you've seen this year.
Yeah, definitely. Bob's completely right. And to add to that is injury prevention as well.
Yes.
I mean, we have one injury at Vieira, and it's a wrist injury. So, I mean, that can't even correlate to it. So, I mean, it's built them, and they're ready now for the playoffs, and they could now withstand that playoff run,
Right.
I think, at the level they need to, because our roster isn't deep, and we don't have a JV team.
Right.
So when we don't have a JV team or a big roster, we got to rely on our guys constantly going out there shift after shift. I mean, them not, going out there, and if they get hurt, I mean, we're in deep trouble. So, I mean, it's definitely helped us the whole season, and it's helped this whole lacrosse community as far as other kids that are doing it. And I know that other kids are doing it on other teams, not maybe the whole team doing it, but those kids as well. I see it on the field.
Obviously, we know the benefits from football, because that was really the crux of it, right?
Yeah, it was.
I mean, football was really the genesis and the basis for what you guys were doing. Not really just football, but once Marcella arrived, softball as well, right?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that and how far it has come for football. Because you guys are actually training people to prepare for the draft now.
We are.
Yeah.
So, I mean, football, obviously, it went from having a team of 10 from satellite in the middle of the pandemic. Shout out to my boy, Coach Kimmy.
Right. Now it's your alma mater.
It's my boy, Coach.
Yeah.
My boy, Coach Kimmy.
I love it.
So they were like the ones who started with it. And I mean, to be honest, without them making that run to the Final Four, staying healthy, and just being able to out-execute and out-health and, just attrition guys to death, like that was really our breakthrough. And then I say, obviously, everything with Coco the year after, like, when you're training the standard and they're at the point where Coach Franco's got his 7-on-7 team.
I was going to say, you got a huge advocate there.
Yeah, and I mean, the proof is in the pudding with a lot of those kids, because they put out, you get out what you put in. So, I mean, at this point, like, we've worked with double-digit football teams in this program at some point. And obviously things have been able to evolve with teams more and more in terms of more hybrid-type training. Like Vieira football, we got their whole varsity team in right now. Coach Gola is absolutely on point with.
He's the man for that team.
He is a great person. He came to the presentation, stayed till 9, 10 o'clock at night, meeting with parents with us, making sure that everything was situated. If there were financial issues, that we could all make it work. And he shows up to the sessions and watches the kids and stuff. So, like, again, the initial goal for team training is just to get a group from a team together. But our vision was always for it to live up to the name of team. We want the team in, and as many as possible. And things like Florida Tech softball, where their whole team comes in, or Cape Coast volleyball, where we have 6 or 7 teams at once, and football teams being able to be together. Like, I've always explained it as very simple. You're only as good as the weakest link on your team. So if your A-plus players are training A-plus, they're going to stay A-plus and get better. But if your Fs are giving you F effort, you're going to get a C-plus team. So if your bottom level guys can be as motivated as your top level guys, and we can train them together, the bottom line moves together, therefore your team moves forward. And that's really, you've seen it even in college.
Yes,
I mentioned
you do.
last year with, what happened with TCU. They made their run because they stopped conditioning and focused on speed in season.
Right.
Look at Michigan this year. If you go and Google Michigan strength and conditioning for football, what do you think was their biggest crux in their offseason that they credit their success to?
Speed and agility training.
They built an indoor hill in their facility so they could run hills.
Wow.
Because, again, running on the incline has endless effort, and that's how these guys have been able to run through arm tackles and secure and have less lower body and extremity injuries.
And that's what I love about Ubrzati, and that's what and listen, that's what I really love about what Bo and Mike and you and Marcella and Dylan and Tim and everybody does there, is that it's not just, hey, this is what made us successful, let's continue to go with this. It's the continuing development of protocols that help these programs. And obviously sports like soccer, I mean, if you're a soccer team or a soccer player, your ass should be there. I mean, it is the sport you run the most in, aside from track, right?
That's right.
And we've had the opportunity to speak to some of the track coaches, but how have some of the track coaches that maybe weren't coming around, are you starting to see more and more of them come around?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just continuity in what we're doing and consistency with what we're doing. We've never changed our vision. We've never changed how we treat anybody. And the core of what we do is we are a supplement to any sports program. We are not here to replace anybody. We don't want to step on toes with anybody. You know, everybody has a job. And to us, obviously, like, the tread is our universe. That's what we do. That's what we live by. But if it's standalone, it's going to work. If it's an accessory, it's going to work, like, no matter what. So I think the longer that we're around,
you got to do it.
And the more communication we have with the coaches on what it is and how it works, and letting professionals do things and let them focus on focusing on, that's how it's been able to grow organically, you know. And I think if we just continue to do right by people, do right by coaches, shoot them straight, you know, and be honest, like we're going to continue to do, I think more and more people will open up to the idea of letting us help.
Why does a program need Ubrzati?
I think the proof is in the results that we're getting right now. In our 8 weeks with the big guys, not one person did not improve, right? Like, they all improved. Everybody improved. And that's from ground speed to the broad jump, everything. One of our kids improved like 8 inches on the broad jump, you know, which is pretty crazy in my opinion. Just in 8 weeks.
inches?
Yeah. I mean,
wow. I mean, I think the thing that Ubrzati offers is, you know, I don't coach high school 7-on-7 in the off season for a reason. I need a break from the high school guys, and they need a break from their coach.
Right.
A lot of guys go from football season to the basketball season to the track season. It's the same coach.
Right.
You know, and that's just the nature of high school sports in Florida. You know, the way we pay, and you only get a certain number of guys that are committed. Most track coaches are football coaches also.
Right.
And I think Ubrzati offers a supplement to whatever your in-season conditioning strength program is. And that's our requirement at Coco.
Okay.
You could go do and train anywhere you want and do anything you want if you let us know what you're doing. And, you know, you have your buy-in, our buy-in, and your parents' buy-in. But it does not excuse you from our team conditioning.
Right.
Right? Because we need to see you and get our pulse. But there's kids that have certain specialty things they need to work on. Ryder Veras, you know, he came to me and said, what do I got to do to get better? I said, it's in and out of your breaks, man. That's where you got good straight line speed and you lose it coming out of your break. And he said, you know, I'm going to go talk to different people. He came back to me, had a whole plan, Ubrzati, how he was going to work the off season. And I saw him at 7-on-7 last weekend. He looked great. You know, and Javen Boggs, he knew his even though he had a great season last year, the knock was he doesn't look elite speed on film. Right? So he busted his button here, put his name on the board, right? You know, Nicky Teeter, we talked about him and what he had to do. CJ Bragg is another one. I said, CJ, you know, you need to have no knocks anywhere. You know, he had an in-house visit with Air Force where they offered him, and it was purely because of the times he posted at Rivals Camp.
Wow.
Where they were like, whoa.
Here with Maxx Amato. And Max, briefly, and I know you can probably take us to about March 31st. But what do we got coming up this year? Or is this going to just be, you know, the big thing was all the change and the move in 2023. And 2024 is now getting as many teams in as you can and continuing to develop these protocols.
Yeah, so we never stop. I mean, we never stop trying to learn. We never stop trying to grow. In March, we have a new certification that we're going to put our trainers through. We're still figuring out which one we want to do, but I mean, it's constantly figuring out ways to better ourselves, constantly challenge ourselves, because obviously we're all athletes. Like, we're not, someone who just went to school with an intrigue of exercise science. Like, we live and breathe what we do.
Right.
Like everybody does. So really our biggest focus this year, honestly, is in the strength portion, we're completely transitioning to VBT, velocity-based training. So like the key obviously is how fast can you move the weight at a certain parameter throughout a workout, because obviously that's going to have more translation to sport. And especially we're trying to be as state-of-the-art as we can. So we brought in Mike Red. If you look him up, he's a guy who's a very proficient administrator of VBT, and he's worked with us to help us get on track with that. And again, we just want kids to be ready for the next level, right? So when you're in college, especially someone like, I'll give you an example. It's like Javen Boggs, right? He's with Marcella 3 days a week minimum strength training. He's already getting a taste of VBT. Guess what? When you go to Ohio State, guess what they're doing? They're doing VBT training.
Right.
They're focusing on how the weight moves, how fast it moves, how efficiently, and with how,
Now, what does VBT stand for?
Velocity-based training.
Velocity-based training. Okay.
So that's been our biggest transition so far. And just figuring out what cert we're going to do in March for the trainers to continue to help make sure that we're ahead of the curve with everything. But other than that, it's just business as usual. Meet people, do right by kids, and make sure that we're making the impact in the community that we want, because that's really the focus of what Ubrzati is.
Well, we will try to get you in here one more time, but I know how hard that can be for both you and for both me. But you just put up a post recently making an announcement.
Yeah.
Care to share?
So at the end of March, Marcel and I will be moving to Buffalo. I say it's a God decision. It's not any other decision. It was just we felt the Lord called us there to make an impact in that community, and it's time for us to settle down and start a family. And as a native Brevardian, I'm very happy with the legacy that I'm able to leave here between my playing careers and, working here. But I know Brevard County like the back of my hand, and I left for a year. It brought me back, so never say never. But, the plan is we will be moving up at the end of March and starting our new lives from there. So,
well, congratulations. Just congratulations, man. Two great people. You and Marcella and the dogs.
And the dogs.
And the dogs. And absolutely, I love following you guys on social media, man. And I remember it was funny because when you sent me that text the other day, I can remember the Christmas greeting you sent me last year, which was from Buffalo in the middle of a snowstorm. And
on the side of the road.
Yeah, on the side of the road, right. So, but, we're going to try. I'm not saying goodbye today. I'm not doing it. It's too far out.
Yeah.
So I refuse to do that.
There's too much to do still.
Right. I got to get you back in here, but I thought it was important for people to know what was going on. And look, all of our bottom banners now that we put up in regards to Ubrzati have your number on it. So, again, that bottom banner has been up the entire time during this interview process. As we wrap up, final thoughts?
For now?
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And let's just, obviously always shout out to you for what you do.
Well, appreciate it.
The one thing I will say is which is great, is there is a Allen type up in Buffalo called WNY.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
So they have a lot to live up to in terms of what they provide, and I think they have a lot more people than just you, the couple you guys,
right.
You, Caleb,
well,
and the couple guys you got.
That's good. We could use a few more.
But regardless, I said, whether I make it back in here or not, I just want Brevard County to know how much I love this place. I've been here since I was 5, and between playing at Cocoa Beach and playing at Florida Tech, working at Ubrzati, being around, I love the people here. I love the coaches here, and I'm going to relish the time that we have. And best believe I'm not going to be sitting still. I'm going to be moving and shaking.
Smart man. Leaving March 31st, right before the start of you know, I mean, when's the weather turned 100 degrees again? Like a month
It's
later.
just when the lease. It's just when the lease.
Hey,
ends.
but look, man, it is what. God bless you on that one. But, Max, always, man. As always, thank you for coming in here as you have over the last couple of years. And you know, I have valued our relationship in terms of what we have been able to do with Ubrzati and Brevard Sports Network, because there are two companies that have helped each other tremendously. Ubrzati has been with us from day one, and we will never be without them. I promise you that.
Yep.
All right, as we wrap up and finish up, Caleb sets all of this up in a very short period of time, so we obviously want to thank him.
The man.
And yes, he is. And I want to thank Maxx Amato as well. So for all of you out there, for Caleb, for Max, I'm Alan. Have a great night, everybody, and we'll see you again real soon. Again, the information for Ubrzati on the bottom of the screen. Hey, everybody, Alan Slaughter-Zinski for the Brevard Sports Network, and I'm here with Jenna Walters. And Jenna, normally we're talking to you down at Bayside about volleyball. Here we are bright and early on a Saturday morning at Ubrzati, and I'm watching the training take place. How has this helped your game on the court?
It's definitely helped with my vertical jump, my speed, pretty much everything that has to do with moving very fast on the court and really getting up high.
The power, though, that's what I know from you. The power, the arm, watching that arm swing as though one big shoo. How's that helped?
It's helped a lot. We do a lot of med ball slams, which also helps a lot with that arm swing. Pretty much, yeah.
What's the general feedback from the girls? I mean, like, I'm looking around, I see some smiles, I see some in-between smiles. What's the general feedback?
I think they know it's going to help them, so they keep going, but it's really hard. It'll take your breath away.
What's been your biggest improvement so far to this point?
My vertical. It's went up a lot.
You seem to be pretty proud of that.
We jump a lot.
Can't wait to see it. For Jenna Walters, I'm Alan Slaughter-Zinski here at Ubrzati.
Stop there. Eyes on the